Hello, Viking fans. Welcome to this week's edition of Viking Talk with Josh Morgan. I'm Brandon Davis, and as always, glad to have with me Warren Central head football coach Josh Morgan. Coach, good to see you.
You too, Brandon.
Well, obviously, it wasn't the game or the outcome we wanted last Friday night. We took a tough 26-20 loss last Friday night at the hands of the Clinton Arrows, but you've had a chance to look at the film, digest it a little bit. What did you take away from that performance?
Well, couldn't really wait long to watch it. It was just really, as soon as we got home, just really wanted to do a good job of evaluating and as soon as I could. And it's one of them nights where we had a lot of things go against us, a lot of whether it was situational stuff that we did, we were sure our own worst enemy. In really crucial situations, had some calls go against us, and they had some breaks go for them, and it was kind of a perfect storm. And I really don't know if I've ever been part of a game like that, Brandon, where if it could go wrong, it went wrong, and definitely disappointing, frustrating, surprised. So all those emotions kind of go through it, and that wasn't the football team that we've been preparing to be or expecting to be. Had a bad night. And we worked really hard to clean that up this week, but we can be a lot better than that, and we plan on being it. And but yeah, very disappointing night on our end.
A lot of people have talked to me about one of the calls we had in the games. It was the punt that looked like we recovered, but they originally the side judge gave us the ball, but then the officials got together and gave the ball back to Clinton. What type of explanation did you get for that play?
Well, several. And none of them made sense to me. But the ball hit their guy in the back. He was blocking our guy, and it should have been our ball. But they couldn't tell if Clinton's guy was blocked into it. They didn't know. They told me that it hit our guy first and then hit their guy. But look, I'm not blaming it on the officials. We had some calls go against us. That's the game. I know that. We were our own worst enemy. It's one thing to get beat by a better team and that outplayed you and outperformed you. It's another thing to not play well and be your worst enemy. And I felt like we were physical in some spots, and we just got to be better. We got to be better in so many different phases. And I had 6 turnovers, and they had 0. And it doesn't really matter who you're playing if you play like that. And that's us. The good thing is it's all fixable, and expected to play a lot better than we did. So even at the end of all of it, Brandon, is after as ugly in times that we played, and still fought and stayed together and gave ourselves a chance to come back and win that game at the end. So I was proud of our team fighting to the very last whistle, and that was one of the positives that we picked up from it.
Yeah. Good segue into the positives. A lot of positives from this game, even though as bad as some of the execution was. One bright spot was our junior kicker, Jonah Artman, coach, connected on a 44 and 46-yard field goal, kept us close in the ball game. You had to be very proud of the effort of that young man.
A lot of confidence in Jonah, the whole operation, with Harbor snapping it, Nash holding it, and Jonah just being a weapon, and that we feel like he has the strength and the accuracy to call on him, and he was ready for that moment. I thought we did a good job protecting him. So very proud of him, and him being ready to go and being that weapon that we all believe that he can be. He also kicked all of his kickoffs in the end zone, great field position. So we expect our guys to, especially like Jonah, to be weapons and to really do good and play at a high level. And he was ready when his number was called.
Yeah, and most people don't see the view that we see from the film, but one of the angles he had, being a right-footed kicker, he was kicking one of those, I think it was a 46-yarder, he kicked from the right hash, so he had to kick it back across his body.
Right.
I mean, his accuracy has gotten so much better. You have college kids that can't make that kick.
Yeah, and he's kicking off the ground too.
Right.
So it's pretty impressive. Put in a lot of work. Jonah's worked really hard. Life of a kicker, it's kind of you really got to work on your own craft, and he's done that, and we're really hoping he'll have us a great year, and he sure has worked mighty hard for it.
And you've talked time after time that one of your best, one of your best tools is being able to put it in the end zone for the touchback, keep it out of the hands of return guys, able to do that in all phases, like you said. So just a great performance by that young man. Another great performance we had Friday night. Quarterback Nash Morgan, coach, completed almost 70% of his passes. I think it was 69% of his passes on the night, 241 yards. What did you think of his performance?
Nash played well, and Nash played well. We had some drops too that we've got to get. We dropped one in the end zone, a couple big plays, and but I thought Nash was taking that step that we're hoping that he'll take this year. I thought he used his legs well, and very proud of his poise and his command of the offense. And then we got to see a little bit of his playmaking ability mixed in there with his accuracy. So we're going to need that from him. We're going to need him to be a dual threat guy. I think that he can be that kind of a weapon. So very proud of his progression, and Coach Riles really put in a lot of work with him and developing him. And again, hoping that he has a high ceiling and can carry us and really be a dynamic player back there.
Yeah, 20 of 29 on the night. There were about 3 or 4 drops that he should have had. So a good high percentage for a young quarterback. That's always good to see for us. Defensively, Coach, we had some good plays. Seemed like we got stronger throughout the night.
We did.
What did you see from your defensive staff?
So I thought we had 2 good series. First series, I mean, we opened the game. The way we opened our game was we had a holding call, false start call, and a fumbled snap.
Yeah.
And that's, you talk about football is a huge game of momentum. Mm-hmm. So that's how we start our game off. And then we come back in the second after the halftime and come out and getting ready to go and making adjustments. And we come out and we give up a long touchdown run on 3rd down. And that's momentum. We have to start better. We have to be dialed in. I think we had guys that were so amped up, some guys that were so nervous, first starts on a big time stage. Settle down, and then we've got players who've been have a lot of experience trying to do too much instead of just their job the best that they can, trust the guy beside them. So there's a lot of that going on that we just didn't see and expect, and hopefully we've got that fixed and ironed out there. But we had a first 2. My point is that we got put in the hole first thing, and we held them 3 and out, and they missed a field goal. So we dodged a bullet there. But we got 2 good stops, and then they kind of got some things going. Their tempo got us on our heels a little bit. We lost our tempo, our poise. And they had 2 good drives there in the first half. One was a response to our first touchdown. And then we settled in, and really after that long touchdown run, that our tackling was atrocious and our pursuit was atrocious. Things that we just don't do around here, and it's not acceptable. And they know. But settled in and played and really dominated the line of scrimmage and really did a good job of keeping their weapons. I think they threw for maybe 85 yards, and they've got some dynamic guys and explosive playmakers on the outside. So did some good things. Half of their rushing yards was on that one play. So it's enough to be bright, have bright spots, and this is one of those deals where it's a really, your glass is half full or glass is half empty. It's a pessimist or optimistic, and we're positive, and everything's fixable. I thought we did some really good things. We have 400 yards of total offense, outgained them by 150 yards. So there's really good things there. We have to settle down and do what's called of us and play sharp football, winning football. And if we'll do that, we'll be fine. And that's where we've got to get our guys to. And we don't have long, Brandon, to hold our head down. And we can't let this one loss turn into another one because we're not ready to go, because we've got what kind of schedule that we're up against, and we've got to be on point.
Well, the good thing is, watching the film, I watched the film too, stuff can be fixed. It's more some mental things. You talk about the amped up stuff. This coaching staff will get it fixed, so that's good news for us here at Warren Central. This is Viking Talk, visiting with Josh Morgan. You talked about it, Coach. We don't have no time to hold our head. This week we have an old rival coming to town in the Pearl Pirates. What can you tell us about this Pirate team? Well,
a typical Pearl, especially on the defensive side of the football. Big, fast. Most of that defense is returning from last year. Had a really good year last year. Mm-hmm. Of course, our game with them last year went into overtime. It seems every time that us and Pearl play each other, it's going to be a tough and physical battle. So it's a very, very good physical defense offensively. They're throwing the ball a lot more than they usually do. Of course, got a new head coach and Coach Schooler from Neshoba Central. and got some really big playmakers offensive wise in the wide out position particularly. So they're doing some things different offensively. Defensively, really physical and stacking the box, and you know, we've got a good plan. Feel like we've got a good plan together. Our guys have got to be ready for a physical battle. It's going to go for 4 quarters, and we have to anticipate that. But really good games over the past. Tradition says if it holds to tradition, it's going to be a tight ball game that's going to come down to the probably to the wire. So we need to make sure that we are there in punching distance right there and executing winning time.
Yeah, if you like football, this is the type of game you like. Pearl, it just seems like, me being new to the Warren Central tradition and learning about Warren Central, this Pearl game's always been fun.
It's fun. It's you know, it's fun, and it's also a lot of and there's a lot of tradition there. Us and Pearl, and same with us and Clinton. You know, these old school games right here are there's a lot of old Vikings and old Pirates, and so it's a fun game to play. It brings out the best in both teams. I feel like it's competitive. And I really do feel like when the dust is cleared, both teams get better from the game. So we know that we have a tough challenge, and feel like that we've got a good plan. I'm really anxious to see us play and play better.
Well, you just alluded to a new coaching staff. Second week in a row, we're facing a new coaching staff. But Coach Schooler come over from Neshoba Central. He brought Brian Anderson with him as his offensive coordinator. We faced them at Neshoba last year. You do have some familiarity with their offense, even though there's a little bit of difference there, right, Coach?
Yeah, there's a little bit, but got a little bit more to go, you know, kind of in a little feel for them. But we know that they're going to be well coached. We know that they're going to have that chippiness and edge to them that your typical Pearl team has, and those coaches that you know, really do a good job with them. So yeah, man, that's everything about our schedule, especially, you know, early on is good venues, good teams, good athletes, good coaches, and gets us better and makes us being on point.
Well, this Pearl offense, they're going to throw 4 or 5 wide receivers at you. They were led by quarterback Jack Durr, a young man that got hurt, unfortunately, in the offseason. We wish all the best to him. Just a fantastic quarterback that we've seen for many years. But enter Dylan Story at quarterback, Coach. Seemed like he's got this offense moving pretty well if you look at the film we had from Neshoba Central the other night. But talk about the challenge that the 4 and 5 wide receiver sets he's going to give our defense.
Well, the quarterback is doing a good job of really, you know, he's a senior, and he's been you know, in the program, and really does a good job of running the offense and making all the throws. I think he threw for 4 touchdowns Friday night, and so he can make all the throws, commands the offense, and does a really good job. And that is the very first thing that I told our team on Monday. You know, it's we got to be ready to play at a high level, and it didn't take me long to turn on some clips and for them to understand what I was talking about. But what they're doing offensively is they're literally going from numbers to numbers with wide receivers who can go, who have good size and make plays. And they put, when you go 4 and 5, it stretches your defense, you know, and really stretches the field, and it opens up. So, you know, we have to make decisions. You know, you know, we have to be careful how we bring pressure because the more we bring, the more holes there are back there. So we've got to do a really good job about that. Hopefully our front 4 can get a lot of good pressure on him without us having to blitz a lot. But we're going to be more aggressive than we have been to try to get them out of those situations in certain spots. But you know, you don't see 5 wide a lot, so you really have to work on that and your pass drops and making sure you're getting to your right landmark. So you know, anytime a team throws it 70% of the time, you know, there's more good. I mean, there's more bad that can happen than good from a defensive coach's standpoint. It's tip ball, it's incomplete, it's picked off, it's a sack. So we're, you know, if that's what they're going to do, you know, we've got to be able to respond and make plays. I feel like we have a good plan. I feel like we have some good athletes on the back 7 that can run. I feel like we got a good front 4 that can get after them. So we'll see how we match up. And but it does impose a different and more difficult type of coverage-wise because they're just spreading you out all over the field.
when you talk about that coverage and spreading you out, you look at their running game, they run a lot of zones, a lot of sweeps, so they want to spread you out and then try to hit those holes in the middle. Talk about the discipline that you're going to have not only from your back half, but from the front seven.
Well, the way we try to approach it is we want to make them one-dimensional. And anytime a team is balanced, where they're getting run game going and getting the pass game going, then mix in with the RPO, it makes us kind of stay on our heels a little bit. So we want to shut down the run. Got to be disciplined. Got to go through our proper reads, you know. So again, we've got to do a good job of shutting down the run, hopefully, and making them where we know that we can get after the passer and not have to worry about that. But another thing that they do and do a really good job of is they mix their screen game in with it, which also slows down your pass rush. So they do a good job. They got a good plan, and they definitely got the weapons to do what they're doing.
Big offensive line you're going to see from Pearl, maybe one of the bigger ones you're going to see this year, Warren Central go up against. That offensive line has allowed them to have big plays, Coach. You look at the film against Neshoba, several plays. You talked about quarterback Story. He had 4 touchdown passes where the receivers just split the safety because he had time to make that throw. So talk about the challenge of how the the defensive line, how we can counteract what their offensive line does.
Well, we have to use our speed because, like you mentioned, they are big. They're big, and they do a good job with it, and they're physical. And so, you know, we've got to do the right things. There'll be times where we have movement. We got to make sure that we use that for our benefit. But in doing so, we got to make sure we keep our integrity of our pass rush lanes and our gap scheme. But yeah, we got to make sure that we're using and putting our guys in a good situation to use their speed, where we don't just get swallowed up and run into it. It's one thing to rush a passer from an edge, but it's also one thing to run into 6'4", 350 head up. So we're going to do some things to try to help our guys get penetration and disrupt their passing game as well as their run game.
So this Pearl game, we've talked about it, it's a tight game. It's usually come down to one possession. Last year they beat us in overtime on a 2-point conversion to go ahead and to beat us. Special teams is probably going to be at a premium this week, I would imagine.
Yes, and you know, we've got to do better in that area. We're banking on that being one of our strengths, and we've got to do a good job with it. We had some penalties in our special teams. We had the block punt that went for a touchdown last week. So yes, you know, we still feel really good about our special teams. Got to clean some things up and be better and more efficient in it. But yes, we'll definitely need our special teams to come through for us in all phases, and return games as well.
Injuries, do we have any injuries that's going to affect us this week?
Well, you know, Chance Ward plays free safety and receiver. He had to have he is going to be out for 2 weeks, and he does a lot for us. He's one of those heart and soul guys of your teams and goes both ways a lot, and so we're anxious to get him back, and then our receiver Caleb Lane has messed up his elbow. He's got an elbow injury, and that happened really before Clinton, and really was counting on him to come in and have some good reps. And I feel like we'll get him. I think we'll get both those guys back in a couple weeks. So anxious about that. Came out pretty healthy, other than our cramps and all the stuff that comes along with that week 1 game. Those jamborees are one thing, and they're good, but they're not 4 quarters. And you know, that's a whole nother. It's like 2 jamborees if the way you look at it like that. So we had some cramp issues, but we're pretty good.
Cramps wasn't too bad though. It seemed that's a testament to your conditioning that you have here. You had to be happy with how you came.
I think so. And there's a lot of guys that never seen cramp up. So it's just, man. But anyway, it's that time of year. It was really a cool night for your first game.
Right.
So they got lucky with that.
Yeah, conditioning is something we put a lot of emphasis on here, so it's good to see not a big impact. So, Coach, how was practice this week? I know the kids probably came in, were upset on Monday, out of school on Monday, but we still had practice. How did this week go?
First of all, losing is terrible. Nobody likes it. It's just not good. You know, when you win, the water tastes better, and the air is cleaner, and the birds sound sweeter, you know, all that. And losing is not fun, and we're not used to it, and we don't like it. And it's been a long time since we've lost a red carpet bowl. But that's not going to be the end-all be-all to this year and this team. And sometimes in life we get tested, and how we respond to that in the big picture, and That's going to get our character and our perseverance and all that. So that's what I told our guys. You know, we didn't have a single guy miss Monday's practice, and I thought that was the first thing I was ready to just, you know, to see how we responded. And you get a Monday off from school, and their butts are here in the morning and ready to go and get better and fix it. And there's no finger pointing. It starts with me, and we all make a commitment to be better, myself included, and figure out what we need to do, take our corrections, and let's move forward. And it's a tough day. You know, we got to call it is what it is, shine a light on what needs to be addressed, and we don't dodge around that. But I felt like we got better this week, and very proud of our guys' toughness, mental toughness, and but no, we don't. It's losing is no fun, and we put a lot of work into this. We really expected to play better, and I hate it for our guys, but that's on us, and that's the world that we live in, competitive sports, and you got to bring it each and every day, and you got to play at a certain level, and we didn't play good enough to win. The good thing about it is the sun came up the next day, and we have an opportunity to play another outstanding team at home, and got another opportunity, and what we do with that will be on us as well.
Yeah, and that's the key here, and you just hit the nail on the head. This is a non-region game, first game of the season. You got a chance to improve, clean it up before you get into those games that really matter toward the end of the season. So a lot of good to be taken away. Don't like a loss, but if you had to have a loss, now's the time to have it.
I reckon. Don't like them, though.
Yeah, that's right. I get it. I understand. But what are the keys to victory this week against a good Pearl team?
Us, Brandon. Us. It's we have to be who we've been coached to be, and the players, the type of guys that we got. We feel great about our team. That hasn't changed. Now, we made some mistakes that were really out of character across the board, and really be better at being us in the way that we win, and being consistently good. And they're going to do some things, and I'm not taking away from Pearl at all. They're going to be a hard battle, a tough out, and we're going to have to outplay them. I'm not saying that one bit, but if we have to in order for us to give ourselves a chance, we've got to do the things, the attention to details and the small details, and then you got to look at the stuff that wins you footballs, which is turnovers and rushing yards and penalties. And if we'll do that, I feel like these Vikings will be all right.
Well, Coach, looking forward to it.
Me too.
Excited about this one. Like I said, this is always a fun game to watch. You almost wish you weren't a fan of either team when you watch this game, though, because it certainly can raise your blood pressure, but
Sure.
It's good football. And we just want to thank you for coming out last Friday night, the Red Carpet Bowl. You know, your contribution is not only putting yourself in the seat, but also is helping a scholarship fund for the kids of Warren County. You can't say enough about that. It's
Had a good crowd. Appreciate it, too.
Yeah, very good crowd. The cause is outstanding, so we appreciate that. Need you here this Friday night again. This is going to be an old slobber knocker, an old rivalry from years ago that I know your dad coached in, and I guess it's Little Dixie back in the day when they played that. So, and of course we played Pearl all throughout the years, but just a fantastic ball game. Come out and support our kids. We appreciate it. Next week we're going to talk about Germantown. We'll talk about this game, then we'll talk about Germantown as we head over to take on the Mavericks. But first things first, we've got to take care of Pearl. So for now, I'm Brandon Davis. He's Josh Morgan. We'll see you same time next week. Until then, rise up Vikings.